Okay, so this is going to be the Frog Prince story, and it's from the Grimm's fairy tales, whatever, so the Grimm brothers, or whatever, Brothers Grimm's, whichever way. I think you can say it both ways. I don't think there's a definite whatever there. But yeah, this is gonna be the Frog Prince one, and of course, with it being the Grimm's Brothers version of the story, it's gonna be a bit darker than, you know, something like Disney version. So, or like one that's more of a kid-friendly one or family-friendly one. So yeah, this one is gonna be a bit, like, I guess, yeah, just a bit darker than those ones. So, yeah. Anyways, I guess I should start reading it. And also this one's a bit longer than the other two that I did, so just as a kind of a warning there, too. So, long ago, when wishes often come true, there lived a king whose daughters were all handsome, but the youngest was so beautiful that the sun himself, who has seen everything, was bemused every time he shone over her because of her beauty. Near the royal castle there was a great dark wood, and the wood under an old linden tree was a well. And when the day was hot, the king's daughter used to go forth into the wood and sit by the brink of the cold well, and if the time seemed long, she would take out a golden ball and throw it up and catch it again, and this was her favorite pastime. Now it happened one day that the gold ball, instead of falling back into the maiden's little hand, which had sent it aloft, dropped onto the ground near the edge of the well and rolled in. The king's daughter followed it with her eyes as it sank, but the well was deep, so deep that the bottom could not be seen. Then she began to weep, and she wept and wept as if she could never be comforted. And in the midst of her weeping, she heard a voice saying to her, "What ails you, king's daughter? Your tears would melt a heart of stone." And when she looked to see where the voice came from, there was nothing but a frog, stretching its thick, ugly head out of the water. "Oh, it is you, old Walder," she said. "I weep because my gold ball has fallen into the well." "Never mind, do not weep," answered the frog. "I can help you, but what will you give me if I fetch your ball again?" "Whatever you like, dear frog," she said. "Any of my clothes and pearls and jewels, or even golden crown that I wear." "Your clothes, your pearls, and your jewels and golden crown are not for me," answered the frog. "But if you would love me and not for me," answered the frog. If you would love me and have me as your companion and playfellow, and let me sit by you at the table and eat from your plate and drink from your cup and sleep in your little bed, it would promise all this when I would dive below in the water and fetch your golden ball again." "Oh yes," she answered, "I will promise it all, whatever you want, if you will get me my ball again." But she thought to herself, "What nonsense he talks, as if he could do anything but sit in the water and croak with the other frogs, or would possibly be anyone's companion." But the frog, as soon as he heard her promise, drew his head under the water and sank down out of sight. But after a while he came to the surface again with the ball in his mouth, and he threw it on the grass. The king's daughter was overjoyed to see her pretty plaything again. She caught it up and got up and ran off with it. Stop, stop, cried the frog. Take me up too. I cannot run as fast as you. But it was no use, for croak after her as he might. She would not listen to him, but made haste home, and very soon forgot about the poor frog, who had betaken himself to do his will again. The next day, when the king's daughter was sitting at the table with the king and all the court had eaten from her golden plate, there was some pitter-pattering upon the marble stairs, and then there came knocking at the door, a voice crying, "Youngest king's daughter, let me in." And she got up and ran to see who it could be. But when she opened the door, there was a frog sitting outside. Then she shut the door hastily and went back to her seat, feeling very uneasily. The king noticed how quickly her heart was beating and said, "My child, what are you afraid of? There's a giant standing at the door ready to carry you away." "Oh no," answered she, "no giant, but a horrid frog." "And what does the frog want?" the king asked. "Oh, dear father," answered she, "when I was sitting by the well yesterday playing with my golden ball, it fell in the water, and while I was crying for the loss of it, the frog came and got it again for me on condition I would let him be my companion. But I never thought that he would leave the water and come after me. But now he is outside the door. He wants to come into me." And then all heard him knocking a second time and crying, "Youngest dear king's daughter, open to me by the well water what promised you me. Youngest king's daughter, now open to me. That which thou hast promised must thou perform," said the king. So go now and let him in." So she went to open the door, and the frog hopped in, following her heels till she reached her chair. Then he stopped and cried, Lift me up to sit by you." But she delayed doing this until the king ordered her. When once the frog was in the chair, he wanted to get on the table, and there he sat and said, "Now push your golden plate a little nearer, so that we may eat together." And so she did, but everybody might see how unwilling she was, and the frog feasted heartily. But every morsel seemed to be to stick in her throat. "I have had enough now," said the frog at last, "and as I am tired, you must carry me to your room and make ready your silken bed, and we will lie down and go to sleep." Then the king's daughter began to weep, and she was afraid the cold frog, and that nothing would satisfy him but he must sleep in her pretty clean bed. Now the king grew angry with her, saying, "That which thou hast promised in the time of necessity must thou now perform." So she picked up the frog with her finger and thumb and carried him upstairs and put him in the corner. And when she had lain down to sleep, he came creeping up, saying, "I am tired and I want to sleep as much as you. Take me up, or I will tell your father." Then she felt beside her with rage, and picking him up, she threw him with all her strength against the wall, crying, "Now will you be quiet, you horrid frog." But as he fell, he ceased into a frog and became all at once a prince with beautiful kind eyes. And it came to pass that with her father's consent that they became bride and bridegroom, and he told her how a wicked witch had bound him by her spells, and how no one but she alone could have released him, and that they two would be together to his father's kingdom. And there came to the door a carriage drawn by 8 white horses, with white plumes on their heads, and with golden harnesses. And behind the carriage was standing faithful Henry, a servant of the young prince. Now faithful Henry had suffered such care and pain when his master had turned into a frog, that he had been obligated to wear 3 iron bands over his heart to keep him from breaking with trouble and anxiety. When the cage started to take the prince and his kingdom, and the faithful Henry had helped them both, and he got up behind and was full of joy at his master's deliverance. And when they had gone part of the way, the prince heard the sound at the back of the carriage, as if something had broken, and turned around and cried, "Henry, the wheel must be breaking." But Henry answered, "The wheel does not break. 'Tis span around my heart, that, to lessen its ache, when I grieved for your sake, I bound around my heart." Again, and yet once again, there was the same sound that the prince had thought must be the wheel breaking, but it was the breaking of the other bands from faithful Henry's heart, because he was so relieved and happy. And that's it. That's the end of that. So this, like, if you knew only of like the Disney kind of version, or I guess like more, kid-friendly versions, then I guess this must be kind of confusing to you or something, because it's like, hey, isn't the princess supposed to like kiss the frog or whatever? But she literally just like threw him across the room, and then he turned into a prince, and then they got married. So it was like, what the heck? I don't know. It was kind of weird there. But yeah, the Grimm's brothers' versions of fairy tales are weird and dark and gruesome sometimes, but yeah, I don't know. Anyways, I guess that's kind of it, but I don't know. Anyways, yeah, I don't know what else I could really say about it, really. I don't think I have that much to really say, because it was kind of weird, and yeah, so anyways, I guess that's it, so I guess bye then.